There are moments in a relationship when a woman goes quiet. Not because she has nothing to say, but because she's hoping you'll understand without her having to explain. That silence isn't distance. It's an invitation most men never learn how to read. Emotional presence matters more than grand gestures because connection is not built in occasional peaks. It's built in consistent, felt moments. A grand gesture can impress someone for a day, maybe even create a memory that lasts for years. But emotional presence is what shapes how a woman feels with you every single time she's around you. And that feeling becomes the foundation of everything deeper. A man can plan the perfect surprise, give expensive gifts, or create dramatic moments that look impressive from the outside. But if, in the quiet, everyday interactions, he is distracted, unavailable, or disconnected, those gestures lose their meaning. Because what she truly responds to is not what you do once in a while, it's how you show up when nothing special is happening. Emotional presence means you are fully there. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When she speaks, you're not half listening while thinking about something else. You're engaged. You're aware of her tone, her energy, the subtle shifts in how she expresses herself. That level of attention makes her feel valued in a way no grand gesture ever could. It also means you are grounded within yourself. When emotions come up, whether it's stress, tension, or vulnerability, you don't withdraw or shut down. You stay. You hold space. You don't rush to fix things or escape discomfort. Instead, you create an environment where she feels safe to express herself without fear of being dismissed or misunderstood. This kind of presence builds trust. And trust is what allows attraction to deepen. Without it, even the most exciting moments feel unstable. With it, even the simplest moments feel meaningful. Sitting together in silence, having a casual conversation, or sharing a quiet moment can feel more intimate than any elaborate plan. There's also a sense of emotional leadership in presence. When you are steady, attentive, and aware, she doesn't feel like she has to chase your attention or question where she stands. She can relax into the connection because your presence communicates clarity. It tells her, without words, that she matters in that moment. Grand gestures often come from a desire to prove something, to impress, to win approval, or to compensate for something missing. Emotional presence, on the other hand, comes from authenticity. It's not about performance. It's about being real, being aware, and being connected. Over time, this is what creates depth. Because a woman doesn't fall for isolated moments. She falls for how you make her feel consistently. And when she feels understood, seen, and emotionally safe with you, that connection becomes something far more powerful than anything a grand gesture could ever achieve. In the end, it's not the big moments she remembers the most. It's the way you looked at her when she was talking. The way you stayed when things were difficult. The way you made her feel like she didn't have to compete for your attention. That's emotional presence, and that's what truly lasts. Consistency builds deeper attraction than intensity because attraction is not sustained by moments of excitement. It is sustained by emotional reliability. Intensity can create a spark, a rush, a feeling that something powerful is happening. But without consistency, that spark fades just as quickly as it appeared. What remains, and what truly matters, is how stable and dependable the connection feels over time. In the beginning, intensity is easy. anyone can be highly attentive, expressive, and emotionally available for a short period. It's natural to show your best side when something is new and exciting. But intensity without consistency often leads to confusion. One day, you're fully present, engaged, and invested. The next, you're distant, unavailable, or unpredictable. That inconsistency creates emotional instability, and instability weakens attraction. A woman may feel drawn to intensity at first, but what she quietly evaluates is whether that energy is sustainable. Can she rely on you not just when it's convenient, but when life becomes routine, stressful, or less exciting? Consistency answers that question. It shows that your interest is not temporary, not dependent on mood, and not driven by impulse. Consistency creates emotional safety. When your behavior, communication, and presence remain steady, she doesn't feel the need to question where she stands. She doesn't have to analyze every interaction or second-guess your intentions. That sense of clarity allows her to relax, and when she relaxes, her attraction deepens naturally. It's also about trust. Trust is not built through one powerful moment. It's built through repeated experiences that confirm reliability. When you consistently show up, follow through on what you say, and maintain the same level of respect and attention, you become someone she can depend on. That dependability becomes attractive because it signals strength, stability, and emotional maturity. Intensity often focuses on creating an impression. It's about being exciting, impressive, or unforgettable in the moment. But consistency is about creating a feeling that lasts. It's in the small, repeated actions. The way you communicate regularly, the way you maintain your energy, the way you remain present even when nothing extraordinary is happening. There's also a subtle confidence in consistency. It shows that you don't rely on dramatic gestures or emotional highs to keep someone interested. Instead, you trust that your steady presence is enough. That kind of confidence is quiet, but it's powerful. It communicates that you are grounded and secure within yourself. Over time, intensity without consistency becomes exhausting. It creates emotional ups and downs that feel unpredictable. But consistency creates a rhythm that feels natural and stable. And within that stability, attraction doesn't fade. It grows, because in the end, what a woman connects to is not just how strongly you show up once, but how reliably you show up again and again. That reliability becomes the foundation of something deeper than excitement. It becomes the reason she feels secure, connected, and genuinely drawn to you over time. Feeling understood is more powerful than being impressed, because connection is not built on admiration. It's built on emotional resonance. You can impress someone with your achievements, your confidence, your style, or the way you carry yourself. And yes, that can create attraction. But attraction based on being impressed often stays on the surface. It's fragile because it depends on maintaining that image. Understanding, on the other hand, goes deeper. It reaches the part of a person that doesn't need to perform, doesn't need to prove anything, and doesn't need to be perfect. When a woman feels understood, she feels safe enough to be real. And that's where true connection begins. Impressing someone often creates a sense of distance. You are being admired, but not necessarily known. There's a subtle pressure to keep up that image, to continue showing your best side, to avoid moments where you might appear flawed or uncertain. Over time, that pressure can create disconnection because it prevents authenticity from fully showing up. But when you focus on understanding, everything shifts. Instead of trying to stand out, you start tuning in. You listen not just to her words, but to the meaning behind them. You notice her patterns, her emotions, the way she reacts to certain situations. You begin to see her as a whole person, not just someone to impress. That level of attention makes her feel valued in a completely different way. It tells her that she doesn't have to compete for your approval or meet a certain standard to keep your interest. She can simply be herself, and that is enough. And when someone feels that kind of acceptance, their emotional connection deepens naturally. Being understood also creates emotional intimacy. It allows conversations to go beyond surface-level topics and into something more meaningful. She feels comfortable sharing her thoughts, her fears, her perspectives, because she senses that you're not there to judge or dismiss her, but to genuinely understand her experience. There's also a quiet strength in understanding. It requires patience, awareness, and emotional intelligence. It means you're not rushing to respond or trying to fix everything. You're present, you're attentive, and you're open to seeing things from her point of view. That kind of presence is rare, and it stands out far more than any attempt to impress. Impression fades with time. What once felt exciting or impressive can become normal, expected, or even unnoticed. But the feeling of being understood doesn't fade, it grows. It becomes the reason she feels comfortable, connected, and emotionally close to you. In the end, a woman may admire what you do, but she connects with how you make her feel. And when she feels understood, she experiences a level of closeness that goes beyond attraction. It becomes something deeper, something more meaningful, and something far more lasting than being impressed ever could. Leadership in love is often misunderstood because many people associate it with dominance or control. But real leadership in a relationship has nothing to do with power over someone. It has everything to do with creating direction, clarity, and emotional stability. It's not about telling someone what to do. It's about knowing where you're going and inviting them into that journey with confidence. Control creates resistance. When a person feels controlled, they feel restricted, unheard, and emotionally unsafe. It may produce short-term compliance, but it weakens trust and slowly erodes attraction. Direction, on the other hand, creates a sense of ease. It allows the relationship to flow because there is a clear sense of movement and intention. A man who leads with direction doesn't wait passively for everything to be decided. He takes initiative in simple, meaningful ways. He makes plans, sets the tone, and brings a sense of structure to the connection. This doesn't mean he ignores her opinions or overrides her voice. It means he values her input while still being capable of guiding the dynamic forward. Direct is also emotional. It shows in how you handle situations when things become uncertain or tense. Instead of reacting impulsively or withdrawing, you remain grounded. You don't let emotions control the situation. You create stability within it. That stability becomes something she can lean into, especially in moments when she feels overwhelmed or unsure. There's a quiet confidence in this kind of leadership. It doesn't need to announce itself or prove anything. It's felt through consistency and clarity. When you know what you want, what you stand for, and how you want the relationship to feel, you naturally guide things in that direction. And that clarity removes confusion, which is one of the biggest sources of emotional disconnect. At the same time, true leadership respects freedom. It understands that a healthy connection is built on mutual choice, not pressure. You're not trying to shape her into what you want. You're creating a space where both of you can grow while moving in the same direction. That balance between strength and respect is what makes leadership attractive rather than controlling. Attract also means being intentional with your actions. It's not about grand decisions all the time. It's about the small, everyday choices that shape the relationship. How you communicate, how you handle challenges, how you show up consistently. These are all forms of leadership. They signal that you are present, aware, and invested. When a woman feels that kind of direction, she doesn't feel the need to take on the role of guiding everything herself. She can relax into the connection, knowing there is a sense of purpose and movement. That doesn't make her passive. It allows her to express herself more freely without carrying the weight of uncertainty. In the end, leadership in love is not about control because control limits connection. Direction expands it. It creates a dynamic where both people feel secure, aligned, and connected. Not because one is in charge, but because one is willing to lead with clarity, intention, and respect. Small, intentional actions create lasting emotional impact because relationships are not built in big, dramatic moments. They are shaped in the quiet, everyday details that most people overlook. It's easy to assume that love needs to be proven through grand gestures, but what truly stays with someone is how you make them feel consistently, in the smallest interactions. An intentional action is not about size. It's about awareness. It's remembering something she mentioned in passing and bringing it up later. It's noticing when her energy shifts and responding with care instead of indifference. It's choosing to send a message, make a call, or offer your attention. Not out of obligation, but because you genuinely want to connect. These moments may seem small on the surface, but emotionally, they carry weight. What makes these actions powerful is their consistency. A single, thoughtful act can be appreciated, but repeated intentional behavior creates a pattern. That pattern becomes a feeling of reliability and care. It tells her that your attention isn't random or temporary. It's something she can trust. And trust is what turns simple gestures into something deeply meaningful. There's also a sense of effort behind intentional actions, not forced effort, but conscious effort. It shows that you are paying attention, that you are present enough to notice what matters to her. When someone feels that level of attentiveness, they feel valued in a way that goes beyond words. It's no longer about what you say. It's about what you consistently do. Small actions also remove the pressure of perfection. Grand gestures often come with expectations. They need to be impressive, memorable, or flawless. But small actions are natural. They happen in real time, in real situations, without the need for performance. That authenticity makes them more relatable and more emotionally impactful. Over time, these small moments build emotional memory. Not the kind of memory tied to one big event, but a collection of feelings stored through repeated experiences. The way you check in on her, the way you listen, the way you respond when she needs support. These become part of how she experiences you, And that experience shapes her connection to you more than any single moment ever could. There's also a subtle intimacy in small actions. They often happen when no one else is watching, when there's no need to prove anything. It's in those moments that your true intentions show. And when those intentions are consistent, they create a sense of emotional security that is hard to replace. In contrast, relying only on big gestures can feel inconsistent. It creates highs and lows, moments of excitement followed by periods of absence. But small, intentional actions create stability. They keep the connection alive in a steady, natural way. In the end, it's not the grand moments that define a relationship. It's the accumulation of small ones, because those are the moments that happen most often. And when those moments are filled with intention, awareness, and care, they create an emotional impact that doesn't fade. It becomes part of how she feels with you every day, and that feeling is what truly lasts. In relationships, what is spoken is only a fraction of what is truly felt. Women often communicate through energy, behavior, and subtle shifts rather than direct requests. Not because they want to confuse you, but because they want to feel you're naturally tuned in. When a man understands what isn't being said, he steps into a different level of connection. One that feels effortless, magnetic, and deeply fulfilling. There are things a woman craves that she will rarely ask for directly. Not because they are complicated, but because asking for them would take away the very feeling she desires. To be understood without effort. She wants you to notice the little changes, the slight shift in her tone, the way her energy softens or becomes distant. She's not testing you to make you fail. She's observing whether you're present enough to feel her without needing instructions. When you notice without being told, she feels seen in a way words could never achieve. She wants consistency, not just moments of intensity. Anyone can show up strong in the beginning. Anyone can create excitement for a short time. But what she quietly looks for is stability in your actions, your attention, your energy. When you are consistent, she relaxes. And when she relaxes, she opens. She wants you to lead, not by controlling her, but by creating direction. A woman doesn't want to carry the emotional weight of always deciding what happens next. She wants to feel like you've got a vision, a sense of movement, whether it's planning something simple or guiding the emotional tone of the relationship. Your leadership makes her feel safe to be in her feminine energy. She wants reassurance, but not in the obvious way. It's not always about saying the right words. It's about how you show up. The way you look at her, the way you listen without distraction, the way you stay grounded even when emotions rise. Your presence becomes her reassurance. She wants you to truly listen, not to respond, not to fix, but to understand. When she speaks, she's not always asking for solutions. She's inviting you into her world. And when you meet her there, without rushing or dismissing, she feels valued beyond surface level. She wants you to appreciate her in ways that feel genuine, not just for how she looks, but for who she is. Her effort, her energy, her way of caring. When appreciation feels real, it deepens her emotional connection to you. And most of all, she wants to feel chosen. Again and again. Not just in the beginning, not just in words, but in your daily actions. The way you prioritize her, the way you show up, even when it's not convenient. That consistency of choice is what builds something real. These aren't secrets because they're hidden. They're unspoken because they're meant to be felt. And the man who understands this doesn't just create attraction, he creates a connection that most people spend a lifetime trying to find.